Hi again, everybody. This is Chris Feehan from the ECG Armory. I just wanted to go over a few things that you might have missed last time. Unfortunately, my video stopped recording in the middle of doing the shoulder bells and the method that I'm using to attach them. And basically what I'm doing is using kind of a sandwich. I'd normally put an elastic strap between the two shoulders here, but what I decided to do was use some fabric Velcro hook side, so I can get in and out of the armor like this. I can open it up, get in and out of it, and then close it back up. So what I've done here is I've put a snap plate here and a snap plate here. I've put some sewable Velcro hook side here, and then on the shoulder itself I've put the put the hook side here, and I put the loop side here, and I've stuck that on to the entire length of the shoulder strap so that I don't have the floating other strap in here. It's actually connected like this to the shoulder strap, so that way I can adjust this, snap this in place, make sure it adheres the entire way across, and then I have some Velcro here to hold down the shoulder strap. And then right in the middle, what I've done is put a snap plate so I can easily attach the shoulder bells, and they're only going to be about an inch away, not even, from the shoulder, so it's going to keep that very secure. So that's the method that I was using. You might have seen in the last video I'd started it and unfortunately cut out before I finished it, but that's what it fully looks like when it's all done. It's two snaps here, the fabric Velcro that's not sticky, it's just sewable Velcro. Put a snap plate, not a snap plate, just a male snap in the middle here so that I could attach this. And that way, instead of that floating again, it can adhere to the shoulder strap, and it gives it a little more support and a little more strength, which I like. So we're going to try out that method. I'm going to see when I size it up if that works out well, and hopefully that'll be a new method that I can use going forward to do this, so you get kind of a clean line here. You don't have that extra strap. It just kind of gets hidden by sticking to the top shoulder strap. So I'm hoping that's going to work out well. I've done all my other snap plates. I'm just waiting for the glue to fully dry. I'm going to wait a few more days, and while I'm waiting, I thought we'd tackle some stuff with the helmet and do some of the painting that's got to be done throughout the entire outfit. I did have some Testors paints here. I've literally had these paints for 10 years, so they're quite old. You can see they started to separate, so I did buy some new ones that just came so I could get started on doing some of the touch-up. And really all I'm going to use is the silver and the black. I'm going to use the silver on the frown on the Stormtrooper helmet and on the Voker piece here. And I'm going to use black on all those silver snaps and split rivets and these screws that are all over the place, because you got to black them out with some black paint. I also started an interesting method of doing the lenses. I've been looking at some of the build threads on both the Special Ops, Spec Ops website and on the FISD website, and I noticed that there's this new method a lot of people are using with putting posts and screws, and I said, well, why can't I do that with some Chicago screws? So what I've done here is with CA glue, I've glued in some posts of varying sizes that line up pretty well with the eyes, that I could put Chicago screws in there. And what I'm planning to do is take the material, this shiny material that's going to go in the eyes, and be able to put that straight across here and connect it with some of those Chicago screws. And I think I may be able to do that with this across the entire length and be able to attach it really securely. The only thing that I realized after I did this was that this isn't really wide enough, so this bottom one's not even going to do anything. I might be able to catch it a little, but it's not going to actually do anything. So I'm not going to worry about that one too much. I'm just going to worry about the top two and the bottom and the one in the middle here. And I think that's going to be enough to hold it in place very well. what I'm going to try to do is size this up with some other material that I have that's similar. This is some laminating plastic, and I'm going to use this as like a guide so I can get the exact dimensions, exactly where this is going to land, and trace where I have to cut the actual piece so I don't do it to the actual piece. So I'm going to take this piece of lamination, I'm going to trace with a Sharpie exactly where the eyes are and see if I could use those marks to securely put in place the Mylar piece that goes across the eyes. I may have to put another post right in the middle here in this eye because, again, this one doesn't reach. I didn't realize that it wasn't as wide as I was hoping. But these three are right in line, and this one in the middle is right in line, so I think that's going to be enough to hold it. So let me take a piece of this and just cut it in half, just as like an analog for what we're going to do with the actual piece, because I don't want to cut the actual piece. I'd rather do a practice one, see how that comes out, and then go from there. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut it down a little bit because I'm not going to need this much. I'm just going to keep that on the side, and this will be a test one just to see how this is going to lay in here. So I'm going to lay this in where the eyes are, and then just trace with a Sharpie exactly where these posts are and where these eyepieces are. So I can kind of see where I'm going to cut the actual one. I'm going to trace out where everything lands exactly. So just with a Sharpie, I'm going to make some marks, and then I'm going to use that as the template when I actually cut the actual material, because I don't want to mess up that material. I probably have enough to do two, but I don't want to risk it. I'd like to have a replacement if I need one down the line. I'm tracing out exactly where the eyes are. Tracing the eye cutouts. And then I'm tracing where the posts are. If I hold that down really flush, I'm going to check where the posts are that I made. I'm going to follow that across. And then I'm going to just keep it in place and try to hold it steady as I go across and make sure it's still lining up with the holes and everything. And probably for the holes themselves, I'm going to wait until the very last minute to put those in. So I'm going to just make sure everything's lining up. Just laying flat in there, and so far it's looking pretty good. Okay, so this is a rough template of what I'm trying to get to, and straighten out these lines a little bit. But these are the lenses, and that's where my marks are, where the posts are. Now let's look at the actual material and just kind of lay that over there and see what we're looking at. Again, unfortunately, that last bottom post they thought would be close enough. Looks like it's a little too far to actually catch this because it's just thinner than I anticipated. And again, I'm trying to be very careful with this material. It's very reflective. It's very nice. It comes wrapped in this cellophane. I want to make sure I preserve that until I'm ready to actually use it. Okay, so if I put the template here, that's the back side. And I'm going to be able to catch those top 3 posts, and that should cover all the lenses. It should cover the lenses completely. What I might need is another post in the middle, either here or right here in the middle, just to make sure it stays down and that it's got at least 3 points of contact, because it is missing that one on the top there. So that's pretty much how I'm going to do it. It's a shame it's too thin to really fit all the way down, but I can work with that. Okay, so let me wrap that back up. And if that doesn't work out, I can try to get more material or a bigger size material to fit there. But I could always do that at a later time and try to put that other post in there. I think I'm going to put the post right there, just to get like 3 points of contact and then some contact in the middle. And then I can use the Chicago screws to hold it down. And that's a lot less messy than using hot glue or some other glue. And these posts look like they're going to stay really well in there. So I'll continue on with that. The next thing I have to do on the helmet before I get started painting is just finish up this rubber caulking around the entire outside. I want to make sure I do it right to the plastic as best as possible. So I'm just going to work it around, make sure I'm getting it in there. This is the S-type material that you're supposed to use for these helmets. And you want to make sure you get it as tight as possible, because I'm going to have to trim it. And I don't want to leave any excess if I can. I want to have every little nook and cranny covered by this material if I can. So that's going to go like that. So I'm just going to work this around. I have it pretty much already done. I'm just going to make sure I'm doing it all the way around and getting it right to that curve. And then I should only have to trim off about 1 inch or so once I do that. Okay, so I'm going to keep working it. Start from this end here and just make sure it's all the way to the edge. I'm going to take this off and start again just to make sure on this side. Because around the ears is where I really want to try to hide that connecting point. And make sure this is as tight as possible. And I think on this one I actually did do a very good job, so I'm not going to have to work it too much. I want to have as little space between where it meets as possible, so I'm going to try to accomplish that. And have it meet somewhere in the middle here. And then if we need to, we can put a little glue in there to try to hold it. If it's problematic in certain spots, I've had it pop out in certain spots that it doesn't grab as well. But hopefully we won't have to do that too much. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. I'm going to be conservative and leave a little more than I probably need. And just cut it about here. And then we'll see if we can work that extra millimeter or 2 out. I'm just snipping that with the scissor. And we have a little overlap. But again, I might be able to work that out. And if not, I'll trim it again. So I just trimmed off about 2 inches. I'm going to take off the whole thing and start again just to make sure I get it all the way around as tightly as possible. And I want it to land somewhere in the middle of the Voker piece in the front. Some people have it land in the back. I don't like it there. I think under here it's much less noticeable, because there is going to be a seam where it has to meet. And again, I'm just pushing, I'm lifting this up and pushing the plastic all the way right up against where that S part meets. And the reason I keep calling it an S part is people call it that because it looks like an S, as you can see from the side. So we're using this bottom flap part to kind of hide all the seams and to give it more of a finished look on the bottom of the helmet. And I'm trying to use some pressure just to go all the way around and make sure that it's right up against that edge, so that I don't end up with any kind of space between the molding. And this hides some of the imperfections. It also, again, gives it more of that finished look on the bottom. See, and there we managed to work out that little bit of excess. And it just about touches, so that's perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. So that's really tight on there now. That should stay. I could put a little E6000 glue there just to hold it. And you can put a little glue in the track all the way around if you'd like to hold it a little tighter all the way around, but that gives it a much more finished look. Now I'm not going to glue just yet the frown piece. This piece I'm leaving loose because I will have to remove this to put the decal, so I'm just leaving this for now because I'll take it off, put the decal on, and then put it back on, and then I might lose a little glue. And I'm also going to do some helmet padding, and that's when I secure the top part to the back of the helmet with the Velcro that I'm going to put across the helmet. So I'm going to wait on that one step. The other step I'm going to do is take off one of these screws that are on the that are holding the ears on, to put the strap for the neck strap, which I like to use just to stop it from wobbling. And then the last thing I have to do is, I've already pre-drilled these holes. I'm going to have to put in the mic tips, and I have those ready that I have to paint as well, that I'm going to be painting along with the frown and the Volker piece right here. So what I'm going to do now is get some tape here and just start taping where I don't want to paint. And I'm going to just do the silver first, and then I'm going to move on to the black. And once I have the black out, I like to do all the painting at the same time. So I'm going to paint pretty much everything on the outfit that needs the silver tips and screws and other things blacked out. I'm going to use the black to do that. I just like to use this painter's tape, put a little bit of a mark here, make sure that I'm getting a straight line right across. And I'm going to paint this entire area silver here, right down to the corner. This painter's tape works pretty well, and it comes right off the armor, so I'm not too concerned with getting it on there. But it's always good to pre-tape so that you have a good line, and it makes for less of a mess when you're trying to clean up later. It's way too big of a piece. Hold on. So I'm going to stop right at that tooth there, so I'm going to put a little cross piece here, just so I know where I'm going to stop. Actually, let me use the edge here. I'm going to stop at that tooth right there. Let's do the other side here. I might have to do another piece right across the brow there. Now you want to try to do this sharp, so I'm trying to make a very straight line. And these are kind of rounded pieces, so they're going to look nice and sharp once I get them done. And again, I'm going to stop it right at this tooth here. Just making sure it matches on both sides. That looks about right. And then I'm going to do a little more work right in the middle section just to get that curve. I want to try to protect that. I don't want to do the actual area. I just want to do the tooth itself on the frown. Just about out of this tape. I think I'll have just enough to do this one project. Making sure I have a nice sharp line there. Now there is going to be some of that overhang I'm going to paint as well, that you see there. And that's fine, but you want to keep it nice and sharp so that you have the distinct black holes in between that we're going to put the frown mesh behind there. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, now I do have to do a few little pieces in between. And this is the toughest part to do. You have to do this for each of the teeth. And hopefully I did a nice job sanding these out so that these will be pretty even. They look pretty even by eye, but we'll see once we actually do the painting what they're going to look like. So I'm just ripping little pieces just to put in between the teeth. I'm going to have to do the same on the top. That way the teeth are going to be very distinct and they should be very nice. And what I'm going to be using is Tester's enamel paint. That's usually what I use on any of these plastics. It usually is a good paint. It has a nice coating that looks nice when it's all dry. It'll have kind of a glossy coating. That's a little too big. And again, we don't have to worry too much about the inside. If we get a little mess, we want these front teeth to be very sharp. Just trying to grab that from behind. And this tape looks a little messy, but of course it's better to take the time and tape it than to mess up while you're painting. And I used to try to do this freehand, but I can tell you it doesn't come out very nice. It comes out very sketchy. It looks a lot better if you take the time and tape it and get the very distinct lines on each tooth. Just 2 or 3 more, and then we'll get started on the Voker as well. The last 2 are tough, they're really small. Let's see if we can rip off a little teeny piece to go in there. And I like to keep the curve of these teeth, so I'm going to try to just stop the tape right where the curve starts, so you get that distinct square tooth. Let's get the last one, and then we'll move on to the Voker. The Voker piece is something I'm going to probably have to do freehand. It's very hard to tape that off. It's a very odd shape with the curves, and you're going to have to kind of rely on the paintbrush and trying to just meet the curves as best as you can. I'm going to do my best on that and see how it comes out. I'm going to end that a little shorter, like right about here. And that one looks like about the same, so that looks very nice. Let's hope that we can get that painted up and look similar to that, only that part that's black right now will be the part that's showing. Let's look at the Voker piece. As you can see on this, the mold is not as distinct as I would have liked. So I'm going to do my best to just kind of mask it off right at the tippy top and try to be able to capture those curves. I might have to do them freehand and just see how they come out. I just want to mask it off as best I can and just try to follow the plastic. I have to find my mic tips as well, so I can do the mic tips, because I want to do those in black before I assemble them with the mesh. Just try and meet that as best as possible. Now this I've been debating about painting. You don't have to paint it. You can leave it. I kind of like the it popping and being a separate silver piece than just being another black shiny piece on the helmet. So we're going to see how it comes out, and if it doesn't look that great, I can always use some of the remover, the enamel remover, and just remove it. But I do kind of like that distinction and having that extra piece here that looks different than the rest of the helmet. I'm trying to find the line in the plastic here that I can try to follow. So I can do it right up against the piece here, and kind of just let the tape do the work of making the straight lines. So you see I'm getting a rough shape there. This top part should be a little more curved out, so I'm just going to, with my finger now, move that out so I can make a little dimple there. My paintbrush. And then I'm just going to have it stop right at the bottom here. Even though there's more ripples on the bottom, they really shouldn't be. I'm just going to go like that, and I'm going to make some diagonals. That's a rough taping out. Again, I'm going to have to do this relatively freehand and see how it comes out when I take the tape off. Hopefully it'll come out and look like it's painted well. Okay, let's get started on that. Let me just find my other piece. I think I had it around here somewhere. There it is. I want to have this handy. These are my mic tips that are totally white. These are going to have to be painted black, except for the middle. The middle dimple is going to remain white, so I'm going to paint these all black with the black Tester's paint. And then we're going to go from there. So what I'm going to do now is just start the painting, and you'll see me get different pieces and different studs that I'm going to be painting black. Hopefully I'll catch everything in one shot. Sometimes I don't, but if I can, I'm going to try to get every piece. I'm also going to use a Dremel to shave this down a little bit. It's a little rough on the back, just to make sure there's no pieces sticking out like that piece right there is sticking out. So I'm going to sand this down a little bit with the Dremel tool, since you can't really use sandpaper on this because of the screw sticking out. But I'll get started on that as well. Okay, everybody. Well, let me get started on this, and I'll see you next time on the ECG Armory. Thanks, everybody.